ancient mineral mine where no human being has set foot since the last ice age. The discovery was made by a team of cave divers in Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula.
In the mountains of northeastern Mexico, something has been found that is making experts start to question what they thought they knew about the past. Deep inside layers of old rock, scientists discovered remains and patterns that do not seem to match any known part of human history or the natural record. At first, it looked like a simple find, but the more they studied it, the stranger it became. The dates, the materials, and the structure all seemed to point in a direction that should not be possible. So the big question remains: what exactly was found in Mexico, and why does it not fit our history? Join us in this video as we reveal the details. A discovery in Mexico that defies all known history. High in the Astillero Mountains of Zacatecas, Mexico, far above the valley floor and buried deep in one of the harshest environments imaginable, Chiquihuite Cave sat in silence for thousands of years. Perched roughly 2,740 meters above sea level, this remote cave existed in a place where survival itself seemed almost impossible. The air was thin, temperatures often dropped below freezing, and the rough mountain terrain made reaching it dangerous even for modern researchers. For countless generations, it remained hidden from the world, sealed by a massive rock collapse near the end of the Pleistocene, its ancient entrance blocked and its secrets buried beneath layers of stone and sediment. At first glance, Chiquihuite Cave seemed like the kind of place that should have held little importance in the broader story of human history. It was isolated, cold, difficult to access, and far removed from the familiar migration routes many experts once believed defined the first arrival of humans into the Americas. Yet that assumption began to collapse when archaeologist Cyprian Ardelean reached the site in 2010 and later began excavations that would ignite one of the fiercest archaeological debates in modern times. When test pits were drilled into the cave's preserved sediment layers, what emerged was astonishing. Buried deep within the earth were stone tools, hundreds of them at first. Eventually, nearly 2,000 artifacts in total. These included blades, flakes, and points that appeared intentionally shaped rather than randomly broken. But what truly transformed the discovery from interesting to revolutionary was the dating. Organic materials surrounding many of these objects were radiocarbon, dated to astonishing ages, with some layers reaching approximately 26,000 years old, and others potentially stretching back as far as 33,000 years. This dating created immediate shock because it directly challenged one of the most accepted theories in archaeology, the Clovis first model. For much of the 20th century, the dominant belief held that the first humans entered the Americas around 13,000 years ago by crossing the Beringia land bridge from Siberia into Alaska as glaciers retreated and migration routes opened. According to that framework, the Clovis people represented the earliest widespread human culture in North America. Chiquihuite Cave presented a radically different possibility. If the dating was correct, then humans may have been present in central Mexico more than 15,000 years before Clovis culture appeared. This would mean people were not simply entering North America late in the Ice Age. They may have already been deeply established in parts of the continent during the last glacial maximum, one of the coldest and most brutal periods in recent geological history. Such a possibility does not simply adjust history. It forces a complete rewrite. Inside the cave itself, the environment adds another layer to the mystery. Two large chambers stretched deep into the mountain, more than 50 meters wide and around 15 meters high, with internal temperatures remaining relatively stable year-round. While the outside environment could be brutal, the cave may have provided shelter, protection, and strategic advantages for small groups moving through the region. Even more compelling was the material used to create many of the discovered artifacts. The green and black crystallized limestone used for numerous tools did not naturally occur inside the cave. This suggests intentional transport from outside locations. Someone had to gather the material, carry it into the mountains, and shape it for use. This detail strongly supports deliberate human action rather than accidental geological formation. More than 200 artifacts were recovered from layers beneath sediment associated with the last glacial maximum, a period when many traditional migration theories should not yet have been in that region at all. Yet the evidence appeared to place them there anyway. This discovery opened profound questions. Who were these people? Where did they come from? How did they survive in such conditions? And perhaps most importantly, why did they vanish so completely? These individuals may not have been Clovis. They may not even have been directly connected to later indigenous populations. Instead, they may represent an unknown and previously invisible wave of migration. An ancient people who entered the Americas, survived for thousands of years, and then disappeared. Chiquihuite Cave transformed from a forgotten mountain shelter into one of the most controversial archaeological sites on Earth because it challenged not just a timeline, but the very foundation of how human migration into the Americas is understood. The cave suggested something astonishing. History may be far older, more complicated, and filled with lost chapters humanity has only just begun to uncover. But if ancient humans truly climbed those freezing mountains, carried stone deep into that hidden cave, and survived there thousands of years before history says they should have existed, then one terrifying question remains. Who were these forgotten people, and why does almost no trace of them remain? Keep watching for more. Lost populations, scientific war, and the fight to rewrite America's earliest story. As news of Chiquihuite Cave spread, the discovery quickly became one of the most fiercely debated archaeological claims of the century. For some researchers, the cave represented groundbreaking evidence that humans had reached the Americas far earlier than traditionally believed. For others, it represented a dangerous overinterpretation of uncertain evidence. The central conflict focused on one critical question. Were the stones truly tools made by human hands, or were they simply geofacts, naturally broken rocks shaped by environmental forces? Skeptics argued that cave systems are complex geological environments where falling rock, sediment pressure, freeze-thaw cycles, and natural fracturing can create stone fragments that look remarkably similar to primitive tools. From this perspective, nature itself could potentially mimic early human craftsmanship. Critics also pointed to the absence of certain expected signs of long-term human occupation. There were no obvious hearths, no large concentrations of butchered animal bones, no extensive food waste, and limited evidence of permanent settlement. These missing elements created understandable doubt. If humans had repeatedly occupied the cave over thousands of years, many experts argued there should be clearer traces of daily life. Genetics also complicated the story. Modern indigenous populations in the Americas do not clearly show evidence of descent from a mysterious 30,000-year-old Mexican population. If these ancient people existed, they may have left no detectable genetic legacy at all. That possibility was unsettling because it suggested entire populations may have entered the Americas, survived, and vanished without contributing to later lineages. Yet defenders of the Chiquihuite findings argued that the evidence remained compelling. Detailed studies of the artifacts indicated patterns of flaking, edgeware, and shaping that strongly suggested deliberate manufacture and use. Nearly 30% of some examined samples reportedly showed signs consistent with use wear rather than accidental breakage. The distinction between cave wall geology and transported toolstone added further support. Environmental evidence strengthened the case even more. Ancient sediment, DNA, pollen, and phytolith analysis suggested that the surrounding region looked dramatically different during the periods in question. Rather than today's dry and rugged landscape, Ice Age Zacatecas may have been cooler, greener, and wetter, supporting forests, grasslands, and animal migration routes that could sustain seasonal human populations. This transformed assumptions about habitability. Rather than a barren mountaintop, Chiquihuita may once have overlooked a far more livable ecosystem. Some scientists proposed that the cave was not a permanent village, but a seasonal refuge, a place small groups returned to repeatedly during hunting migrations, harsh winters, or territorial movement. This would explain why evidence might appear sparse while still accumulating across thousands of years. Radiocarbon and optical dating suggest intermittent occupation stretching from roughly 33,000 years ago until around 12,000 years ago when the cave entrance collapsed. That span represents more than 20,000 years of possible repeated use. If true, Chiquihuite may represent one of the earliest and longest used human sites in the Americas. Its broader significance reaches far beyond one cave. Other controversial sites, such as Bluefish Caves in Canada, Gault in Texas, Santa Elena in Brazil, and Cactus Hill in Virginia, also hint that human arrival in the Americas may have been more complex than a single migration event. This raises a revolutionary possibility. The Americas may have been entered multiple times by different populations over tens of thousands of years. Some groups may have succeeded and expanded. Others may have failed, vanished, or been replaced. Chiquihuite may preserve evidence of one such lost population, a people who arrived early, developed their own survival strategies, and then disappeared so completely that only stone artifacts remain. This possibility changes archaeology in a profound way because it suggests history is not always a clean line of progress. Entire chapters of humanity may have unfolded and vanished without descendants, leaving behind only fragments buried in stone. Today, Chiquihuite Cave remains controversial, unresolved, and deeply important. It stands at the center of a scientific struggle between old models and new evidence. Whether it ultimately proves to be the key to rewriting American prehistory or remains a contested mystery, one fact is undeniable. Chiquihuita has forced humanity to reconsider how much of its own story may still be missing. If early humans in Chiquihuite may have lived far earlier than expected, what happens when another discovery suggests they also built highly precise and complex structures thousands of years before any known civilization? Let's delve deeper. The hidden Yucatan discovery in southeast Mexico. The Yucatan Peninsula in southeastern Mexico has always been a place filled with mystery. Thick jungle covers much of the land above, while below the surface lies a huge hidden world of limestone caves, underground rivers, and cenotes. Cenotes are deep sinkholes filled with fresh water, created when the limestone ground collapses. For the ancient Maya, these places were sacred. They believed cenotes were gateways to the underworld, places connected to gods, spirits, and powers beyond human life. For many years, archaeologists explored these caves and pools, finding pottery, bones, offerings, and signs of ancient people who once lived in the region. But in March 2019, one discovery inside a cenote near Tulum reportedly raised questions far bigger than anyone expected. This discovery did not begin as a search for lost civilizations. Marine biologist Sofia Mendoza and her small team were originally studying blind cavefish living deep in the underwater cave systems. They traveled to a cenote called Chunha, located about 43 kilometers inland from the Caribbean coast. The area was difficult to reach because of thick trees, tangled plants, and rough terrain. On March 12, 2019, Mendoza's team entered the water early in the morning. They moved through the main chamber and followed a narrow underwater path deep below the earth. At around 61 meters below the surface, the divers entered a huge, hidden chamber. It was described as being as large as a cathedral. Their lights moved across the walls, revealing limestone formations that had grown for countless years. Then they saw something shocking. Carved into the stone wall was a massive, geometric pattern. Unlike anything known from Maya or other Mesoamerican cultures, it was made of large spirals connected in precise patterns, spreading from a center point across about 18 square meters. This was not paint or simple cave art. The design had been cut directly into solid limestone. The channels were carved to a nearly perfect depth of about 7 centimeters. The shapes looked mathematically exact, not random. The divers filmed the wall carefully, capturing every detail before returning to the surface. Later analysis reportedly dated organic material trapped inside the carved grooves to between 9,000 and 11,000 years old. That timeline stunned researchers because it placed the carving long before advanced civilizations like the Maya. During that distant period, most accepted history says people in the Americas were mainly small hunter-gatherer groups focused on survival. Yet this site suggested something far more advanced. Experts studying the footage reportedly noticed that the spirals followed highly consistent mathematical ratios. The shapes appeared so precise that some believed whoever made them had advanced knowledge of geometry. This raised another serious question. How were such carvings created? Detailed scans of the marks suggested the cuts did not match known stone tools, obsidian blades, or early copper tools. Instead, the lines were unusually clean and uniform. As news spread quietly, more investigations began. Within 6 months, 3 additional sites reportedly appeared across the Yucatan Peninsula. Near Verdoli, construction workers uncovered a chamber with granite columns placed in a perfect hexagon pattern. The granite did not come from the local region. Geological tests reportedly linked it to mountains over 800 kilometers away. Near Koba, another chamber contained strange symbols that looked more mathematical than linguistic, with patterns resembling prime number sequences. In the Dos Ojos cave network, divers reportedly found underwater stone blocks arranged like a platform, with smooth edges and cuts so precise they seemed almost modern. All 4 sites were reportedly dated to roughly the same period, around 9,000 to 10,000 years ago. This suggested they might be connected, rather than isolated discoveries. Researchers noticed repeated patterns linking the sites, including similar geometric ratios and design systems. What made the mystery even deeper was what was missing. No villages, no homes, no farming systems, and no large settlement remains were found nearby. Whoever created these structures seemed to appear, build with great skill, and then disappear without leaving the usual signs of civilization behind. This caused major debate. Some scholars argued the discoveries might be misunderstood, natural formations, or dating mistakes. Others believed they pointed to a lost culture with knowledge far beyond what current models allow. If ancient caves in Mexico challenge human history, what does it mean when the rocks beneath them reveal giant sharks from a lost sea? Stay tuned for more. A discovery that redefines prehistoric oceans. In 2024, a major fossil discovery was made in a limestone quarry near Vallecillo in northeastern Mexico. The area is far from any modern ocean and sits in a dry, mountainous region. Quarry workers were cutting through layers of rock when they suddenly uncovered something unusual. Instead of broken shell fragments or small fossils, they found full outlines of large sharks preserved inside solid stone. This forced work to stop immediately, and scientists were called to investigate. The fossil site belongs to a geological formation known for very well-preserved ancient marine life. These rocks formed about 93 million years ago during the late Cretaceous period. At that time, the region was not land, but a warm, shallow sea filled with marine animals. Over millions of years, the seabed slowly turned into limestone as layers of sediment built up. Later, movement of the Earth's crust pushed the ancient seafloor upward. This is how fossils that formed underwater are now found high in the mountains of Mexico. The discovery happened during normal quarry work. Machines exposed a new rock layer that showed strange shapes. At first, workers thought they were looking at ordinary marine fossils, which are common in limestone. But closer inspection showed complete shark body outlines preserved in stone. Scientists from a nearby university were quickly called in, and an international team soon joined the investigation. They confirmed that the fossils were real and extremely important. The fossils belong to a prehistoric shark genus known as Tyotus. For more than 250 years, scientists had only found its teeth. These teeth are very large and shaped for crushing, not cutting. Some reach over 50 centimeters in size. Because only teeth were known, scientists had no clear idea what the full animal looked like. They could only guess based on modern sharks, such as great whites or other large species. Many different ideas existed, but none could be confirmed without a full skeleton. The new discovery included 6 well-preserved sharks. These ranged from young individuals to fully grown adults. In some cases, the fossils were so detailed that even soft body outlines could be seen, including fins, muscles, and parts of internal structures. The largest sharks measured up to 10 to 11 meters long. This made them among the biggest crushing-type sharks known from that time period. The fossils showed that Tyotus was not a slow, bottom-dwelling animal. Instead, it had a body built for speed, similar to modern fast sharks like great whites and makos. This means it was an active swimmer in open water. Its tail and fins suggest strong movement and long-distance swimming ability. It likely chased prey instead of waiting on the sea floor. Its teeth show it fed on hard-shelled animals such as ancient sea turtles and ammonites, using its strong jaws to break shells before eating the soft parts and inside. Shark skeletons are made of cartilage, not bone, and usually decay quickly after death. For these fossils to survive, special conditions were needed. Scientists believe the sharks died and sank into oxygen-poor areas of the seafloor where there were few scavengers. This slowed decay and allowed the bodies to be buried quickly in fine mud. Over millions of years, the mud hardened into limestone rock. Later, Earth's movement lifted the seabed into mountains, preserving the fossils inside stone. This discovery is very important because it finally shows the full body of a shark species known for centuries only by its teeth. It confirms that Tyotus was a large, fast predator with a powerful crushing bite. It also changes how scientists understand ancient ocean life, showing that this shark was not a simple bottom feeder, but a strong swimmer hunting active prey in open waters. Evidence shows that Tyotus lived for about 20 million years before disappearing around 76 million years ago, before the major extinction event that ended the age of dinosaurs. What do you think about the discoveries in Mexico that change history? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Thank you for staying with us as we explored the discoveries in Mexico. If this deep dive into a lost population keeps you engaged, don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the next video on your screen to continue uncovering more stories. See you there.